I call the order regular meeting of the President and Board of Trustees of Machesney Park, Illinois for Monday, December 5th, 2016. Please stand for the invocation led by Pastor Jared Kemp, North Park Church of Christ on Elm Street in Machesney Park, and Pledge of Allegiance led by Trustee Robin Snodgrass.
Let's pray. Lord, to come before you, we thank you for this time that you have given us to come together to discuss things concerning this community. We pray that this time would be used in a way that glorifies and honors you and that helps and enables as many as possible to do good. We pray you would be with us always. Please help us to do your will in all things and to know you better. Please strengthen this community and the people in it. We pray these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk take roll call, please?
Mayor Boland.
Here.
Trustee Snodgrass. Here. Johnson.
Here.
Kidd.
Here.
Wilson.
Here.
Bailey. Here. Beck.
Here.
Clerk is present. The attorney is present.
Thank you, Lori. We have a quorum. Next is approval of minutes from November 21st, 2016 board meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So made.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussions? I see none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes have been approved. Next we have Treasurer's Report. Tom Yo.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Treasurer's Report tonight reflects the totals of all funds as of November 28 was $7,691,802.46. As always, a detailed copy of the Treasurer's Report is available on the table at the back of the room. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. I entertain a motion to accept the Treasurer's Report.
So made.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? I see none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Treasurer's Report has been accepted. Next we have Communications. Lori Mitchell.
Thank you, Your Honor. A couple things this evening. We're still in the midst of the holiday lighting contest. I've been soliciting Machesney Park businesses for prizes. We're preparing three prize baskets as awards for the winners of the lighting contest. We're still accepting nominations, and we're pleased that our own Tambrin Hecox, our student liaison, and her family and friends will be judging again this year, as the student liaison does each year. Please call Village Hall with your nominations of beautiful homes around the community. Also, we were scheduled to have Tanner Elliott with us this evening to do a presentation on his Eagle Scout project, but he had a scheduling conflict, so he'll be here next board meeting on December 19th. But we are pleased to have Steve Ernst with us tonight, who is going to give us a great educational presentation on the Great Lakes Basin Railroad.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm going to probably walk around. Is everybody hear me okay? I don't need the mic, do I?
You're fine.
This is kind of a stripped-down version of a presentation that I gave for the Rockford Area Economic Development Council a couple of weeks ago. Mayor Boland thought it would be a good idea to highlight some of the work and to maybe answer some questions that you might have about the particular project. When I put together the presentation for the RAEDC, they really wanted some background information about what the project really is and what are the components of the project and how does it affect our region as far as economic development. So really two things. If you're familiar with railroads, the Great Lakes Basin project is really an interconnector. It touches all of the Class 1 railroads, who are the largest operators in the nation. It touches all of them in a way that allows freight to flow around Chicago in a way that if the freight isn't destined for the Chicago region, then it can bypass Chicago. And I'm going to put up a map here in a second. But secondly, and probably more importantly for us, it's also acting as a short line railroad that's providing direct access to industry and to business in a way that will allow local shipments and local deliveries to occur, if there are any. At present, we don't really have a whole lot of direct rail access to industrial property in the region. That business is dwindling more and more. And I put 3 websites on here. I'm going to leave a copy of the presentation with the staff, so if you'd like to follow up and like to actually take a look, the first link, greatlakesbasin.net, actually provides you can zoom in on an aerial photograph and see every individual property that's affected by the particular railroad, which would take me way too much time here. Okay, now next slide. So this is an idea of what the project looks like. It essentially starts in Milton, Wisconsin, and ends up in just outside of LaPorte, Indiana, and then with existing rail connections, it connects to the Port of Indiana, and then onto the Port of Chicago, and then in the north end, it connects to the Port of Milwaukee, all in Lake Michigan. About 280 miles of all brand new 65-mile-an-hour rail track. I like to categorize it as an interstate highway type facility for rail. And the colored dots indicate all the places where it connects to the existing rail system and provides the ability for freight that's flowing into Chicago that's not necessarily destined for Chicago to go around. The route that you see on here was the last submission that was given to the federal government in their approval process. It's dated September of 2016 and is the most recent. Okay, next slide. How did this kind of all come about? If you're mad about the project, you want to blame somebody, blame me. I asked the folks who were starting up the idea to come and look at the Rockford region and to look at the airport for the implications of freight. But because I had been involved for a long time with freight and freight planning, I was aware that the United States Department of Transportation was putting together a national freight plan, and they were asking the locals to submit, and to the states to submit information to them about what should be in the plan. So there's some really interesting things. Now the plan has been released for public comment in draft stage. I think it's dated in 2015. It still hasn't been finalized yet, but it makes some forecasts and trends and looks at each of the states individually and talks about the freight system that's proposed. Okay, next slide. This is what the cover of the document looks like. It is about 170 pages long, unfortunately. It'd be real tough to synthesize quickly, but I've done that for you, so I'm just going to go through and get some of the highlights. Next one. Just a couple of big bullet points. Freight in the United States, which has been growing considerably as companies go to just-in-time manufacturing and folks go to distribution networks like what Amazon does, for instance. Freight is forecasted to more than triple by the year 2040 in the United States. And of that, freight on rail is forecasted to about double by 2040. If you think about the way most freight, large freight flows into this country, it comes from the Pacific Rim, Japan, Asia, across the Pacific Ocean to the West Coast ports. Either gets on a truck or gets on rail and flows across the United States to the East Coast ports where the majority of the population is. A little bit of that comes from Europe the other way, but nowhere near as much as what comes that way. So the ports on the West Coast, and there's really 3 big ones, Tacoma, LA, and Long Beach, have traditionally been the large ports. The plan has statistics that shows that those ports are losing considerable market share, and that market share is being picked up by the Gulf Coast ports. There's two reasons for that. One is because the Panama Canal has now been widened, and so there's no longer freight delays going through the canal. But also because of the existing freight delays in Chicago, the Midwest is losing all the market share for freight. Maybe that's a good thing. I tend to think of it as a lack of economic development opportunity, but it also means that there's less trucks and less freight trains. If you look at the plan state by state, and you look at Illinois, the RFD, the Chicago Rockford International Airport, is the only local airport on the National Freight Plan, in addition to O'Hare. So none of the other airports, Quad Cities, Peoria, Springfield, now the St. Louis airport is, but none of the ones on the Illinois side. And the unfortunate part is that there's no rail connections. As a matter of fact, there's no rail facilities in Winnebago County at all that are on the National Freight Plan. So everything that's happening at the airport is either coming in by air or it's happening with truck. And one other thing that comes out in the study is that Illinois as a state, our largest global trading partner is Canada. It's not Asia, it's not Mexico, it's Canada. And most of that freight flows from the south to the north on Interstate 39 and Interstate 90 coming out of Chicago. If you've ever traveled on the piece that runs through Winnebago County, you know, they run together there, and you always wondered why it's 3 lanes and why it has so many trucks on it. That's because most of them are going north to service the ports that where the goods can enter Canada. Okay, next slide. Just a little bit of background information about the planning work that we had done as a region. And Mayor Boland sits on the RMAP Policy Committee, and that board makes decisions about transportation planning, which includes freight planning. For probably since about 2009, the region has attempted to get funding to upgrade the rail tracks between the airport and Rochelle. There is an existing track there. It's in deplorable shape. It can't handle very much weight on the rail, and its speed is very limited. We have attempted to get the owner of that railroad interested in economic development projects where it could recoup funds from investing in their rail. And it's kind of the chicken and the egg. They want the development first, we want the upgrade first, and the development will come. Well, nothing's really happened since then. And we've really been unsuccessful in trying to secure grant money. We estimated that upgrade to be between $35 and $40 million, just to get it into a condition where freight could really utilize that. And not only that, within both Boone and Winnebago counties, there are very few industrial properties, commercial properties that are truly rail served. And a lot of us have TIP districts. Most of them are not serviced with rail at all. And so most of the legacy freight infrastructure is literally going back to its early turn of the century roots. So from a planning perspective, the best location with the amount of land we have for rail-served industrial is around the airport and then also around the Chrysler plant in Boone County. Next. When I approached the creators of the Great Lakes Basin Railroad and asked them to look at the Rockford Airport as a place to have a terminal, they got pretty excited about that. When they did their financial feasibility, it was not financially feasible to stop the rail project at the airport. They had to find a way to get it into Wisconsin and eventually into the Port of Milwaukee, and that's why it's taken on this, alignment controversy about whether it goes through Winnebago County, whether it goes through Boone County, but eventually it's got to get to Milton. That's the magic spot. The current route that I showed you, you can't really see it at this scale, but when it goes past the airport on the south side, it actually bisects a 1,000-acre tract that's in an industrial recovery TIF on the south side of the airport. And that terminal that could be built in that property would complement a rail-served industrial park, but would also provide an opportunity to replace the dilapidated freight yards on South Main Street with a modern facility. The railroads don't want to be in downtown Rockford, and they would love to have a facility to replace that. This would be the obvious place to do it. You know, one thing a lot of people don't think about is that getting that South Main Street rail yard converted to a different land use is very helpful for not only for downtown redevelopment, but also if we, you know, if things would have happened the way we expected them to, we'd be having passenger rail by now. And that would complement the ability to produce land uses that would complement the passenger stations that could be built in downtown. Okay, next. This is the property I was talking about on the south side of the airport. It's just off 11th Street, only 251. I'm going to this area right here. That's the landfill that's on 11th Street, just so you have some orientation. So this is property that has been annexed. Has utilities available. It has a road network built into it. There would have to be some upgrades, but for the most part, this is the property that would be available. The next slide. And this is just a concept, but this is how the railroad could, at an angle, go through the property, have heavy industrial on the south side with rail spurs, and general industrial or commercial office on the north side. And then in that corridor that goes through at an angle, you'd have the ability to actually put a rail terminal with the ability to transload from truck to freight, truck to rail, excuse me, have the ability to switch trains, have the ability to provide loop tracks in there if you had like a grain elevator or some other thing you wanted to access. So there's lots of opportunity in this particular spot. Next slide. The reason that becomes important is that we haven't been able to, as a region, find any funding to help us realize some of these important components of upgrading the transportation system and also changing some of the land use. And the Great Lakes Basin is 100% privately funded, so there's no public money whatsoever in the project. But again, that is a double-edged sword. That's good and bad. But as a region, we just haven't been able to come up with any funding, whether it's grant or otherwise. So this is an opportunity to work with the private sector. And I think I put in one of the slides, from a national perspective, this is how big freight project, these big transportation projects are going to occur in the future. There's going to be a private partner somewhere, whether it's a toll highway facility or it's a rail facility like this, where they can financially recoup some of their investment, and they don't have to worry about transferring the risk to the public partners, because that's the last thing we want to do. Transform Rockford has a transportation team. They did a gap analysis on freight and freight infrastructure. It basically came up with the same conclusions we had, that the legacy freight infrastructure that exists right now is really in really poor condition, not really being maintained, and most of the businesses have left. Very few of them are able to use it because of the just-in-time nature of modern manufacturing. We do have some industry clusters in the region that are growing, obviously aerospace being the most prominent, but there are other industry sectors that are growing which potentially would want to use rail as part of their supply chain. If we went back to the map, not only does that route touch every Class 1 railroad around the ring, it also touches every major shipper in the United States. In many cases, the freight forwarders that are moving the freight and deciding on what route it's going to take could utilize this network. Okay, now back to where we were, thank you. Yeah, go back one more. There you go. This is my belief, it's part of my presentation. The future of the local economy, I believe that the investment of this type in just within Winnebago County or Boone County, depending on which route they choose, we're looking at, tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in investment. The total route is estimated to cost $8 billion, all privately funded. So just the influx of the construction dollars would be a huge boost, but then permanently what it does to the economy and to any growing job clusters, I think is important. And also that because carload service, especially even in the agriculture sector, really isn't available. And so, this is something that I think is desperately needed in our region to be competitive. Okay, last one. So what's the status of the project? They are about a third done with the federal process that they have to follow to get permitted as a railroad. And I have a slide here coming up that kind of shows that process. They are, with the submittal of this most recent route change, they are now to the point where they stopped looking at routes and they're now doing an environmental impact statement on the preferred route and then any of the alternatives that were suggested during public comment period. That'll probably take 18 to 24 months. When that EIS is done, they'll come back. They'll go through the same public involvement process again and talk about the findings, about the impacts, not only to the environment, to the affected property owners, and then they'll go through another series of public comment before they go back and make a decision. Ultimately, the decision is really made as to whether this is a good project for the nation as a whole, whether it has a role in that freight plan for the nation. I'm not sure how much they'll listen to individual property owners and how they're affected, but it's good for them to come forward and discuss the impacts. If it's farmland to their farms, if it's not farmland to what their land, whatever land use is on their land. Last one, there. This is the process. The top line, the green diamond says publication of final scope. That's where we just ended. So they've now gone into the first purple one, prepared draft EIS. That's where we're at right now. So there's quite a bit of process that has to happen. And one thing I try and tell people is there's plenty of opportunity to get involved and to have regional discussions about whether this is good or not for our region. And then also to have conversation with the affected property owners. Did I have one more slide? Oh, just some conclusions, and I think I've already stated this. It's an interstate caliber rail route. No at-grade crossings. Everything will be grade separated, no train whistles. But it will be traveling at 55 or 65 miles an hour on brand new state-of-the-art track. It's 100% privately funded. And again, it's up to us to have conversations about whether or not this makes sense for the region, whether the impacts outweigh the benefits. And I'd be happy to answer questions if you have time for that.
Thank you for your presentation. Question, I think you just addressed it, the quiet zone for municipalities. That's huge because a lot of the municipalities that deal with the rail, that the noise is a big factor. Did you guys consider using a waterway in conjunction, like the rivers?
Because of, well, all I can state is the engineering team that was looking at the route alternatives looked at all brand new crossings of any waterways. I don't know that there were many waterways where it could, run in the same corridor for a particular length of time. But they're looking at state-of-the-art treatments so that if there happens to be a problem, whether it's a spill or derailment, which is highly unlikely, but it's still something they have to plan for. They would be looking at some modern treatments to make sure that whatever spills doesn't end up in the waterway. So they're looking basically to thread the needle in ways that affects the least amount of property and environmentally sensitive property. So waterways are probably something they would look to move away from if they had a choice.
And again, my son works for TTX, which is owned by Buffett. Huge. They basically rent all the boxcars to all the other rail people. So that would be, I'm sure they probably contacted people like that for the financial part of it.
Absolutely. They did not share that with the public. That was something they did privately, but they did a financial feasibility study because their investors are, like I say, are looking to pony up $8 billion over the course of the project. And they have looked at each of the segments of the route and to how much advantage or disadvantage the local system provides to that financial feasibility. That's when we learned that just stopping at the airport as basically the terminus as it came into Winnebago County wasn't financially feasible for them. There wasn't enough activity in rail at the airport. Now, if they can get to the Great Lakes, that makes it a huge difference, and that's why the northern piece got added to the route at the very end. I have to imagine that companies like GTX and other companies like that that are involved in the freight business are looking at this with a very keen eye, as are the existing railroads as well.
Because basically that's their business. They go
It is
coast to
their
coast.
business.
Coast to coast.
Yeah, and, you know, there's so much angst right now among the Class 1 railroads about what's happening in Chicago, even though they're spending lots of money trying to fix some of the freight delay problems. They just haven't done it in a way that really helps economic development.
Thank you.
I have a ton of questions. I'm not going to ask any of them tonight because I don't want to take up the time, but I'm sure that you're available for lunch or for a phone call or any questions we have, we can get a hold of you, right?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, thanks for your time. I will leave my contact information with the mayor, so if you would like to contact me, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, thank you for coming tonight, Steve. We appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next, we have warrants. Trustee Wilson.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Administration and Finance Committee met this evening, and we had nothing as far as any troubles that go with the warrants this evening. We did have a positive recommendation for warrants that totaled $1,293,676.12. I can say that. And again, it was a positive recommendation. I'll entertain a motion for the approval.
So made. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Will the clerk take roll call, please?
Trustee Johnson?
Aye.
Kidd?
Aye.
Wilson?
Aye.
Bailey?
Aye.
Beck?
Aye.
Snodgrass? Aye. 6 ayes, no nays.
Thank you, Lori. The warrants have been approved. Next, we have administrative reports. Our Machesney Park Christmas Toy Drive 2016 for Helping Hands Pantry at 7620 Elm Street in Machesney Park is still in need of new unwrapped toys. We will be collecting toys through Friday, December 9th here at the Village Hall. The collection time is scheduled work hours Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And the toys will be distributed by North Park Church of Christ on Saturday, December 10th. At Village Hall here, we only have 4 working days left to drop off your toys. All donated toys must be new and unwrapped. Help us make everyone's Christmas 2016 to be very joyful. On Wednesday, November 30th, WREX-TV Channel 13 was at Village Hall promoting our toy drive. Thank you to Morgan Kochmeyer and Austin Love for hosting the 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. morning TV coverage. We are very honored to have them with us promoting the toy drive. They did an awesome job that morning. Also, thank you to Santa Claus who dropped in on us at 6:30 a.m. that morning. And he assured us that he's working overtime to make sure that every kid gets a present this Christmas. And a special thank you to Vice President, General Manager, WREX-TV 13, John Chadwick. On Tuesday, November 29th, at the GPS Faith Community Church, a public safety awareness forum was presented by area and regional police professionals. The forum speakers included Winnebago County Sheriff Gary Caruana, State Police District 16 Commander Carl Heinz, Rockford Police Chief Dan O'Shea, Loves Park Police Chief Chuck Lindy, Machesney Park Police Supervisor Doug Bushman, and Crime Stoppers Coordinator Ken DeCoster. Thank you to all the forum speakers. They covered a wide range of issues in our communities and responses to many questions asked by the attendees. And thank you to Pastor Rob James and the GPS Faith Church for hosting and participating in the community event, and Sergeant Doug Bushman, who contacted and coordinated the speakers for the forum presentation. This forum was an excellent example of community leaders working together to make Winnebago County and the state of Illinois a better tomorrow. Next, we have some presentations for Carlson Boys and Girls Club, Chip Stoner, and GPS Faith Community Food Pantry, Pastor Rob James, and North Park Church of Christ Helping Hands Food Pantry, Pastor Jared Kemp. Would all three of you come up to the podium, please? This is from the village of Machesney Park. It's a donation to the Boys and Girls Club of $2,000. We hope this helps you in making your club better and put a lot of smiles on faces. Do you have anything to say?
It's hard to believe that Carlson Club's been serving this area for 47 years, and the support of the village is invaluable. Thank you so much. It goes a long ways. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, from Helping Hands Pantry, we have Pastor Jared Kemp. We have a $750 check for you for the pantry.
We just want to say thank you, obviously, to the village of Machesney Park for the help they provide in this toy drive, and for all the families and the kids that it brings joy to on Christmas morning.
Thank you. And next we have GPS Pastor Rob James, another $750 check for the pantry.
Thanks, Mayor Bolton and trustees and staff. We had no idea in 2007 when we raised $1,400 what we were getting ourselves into. But April will be our 100th mobile food pantry in partnership with Grace Lutheran Church and the Northern Illinois Food Bank. It's about 10,000 pounds per truck, meaning we'll give away our millionth pound of food come April. So anytime you're available, third Monday, unfortunately this year because of the cost, we went from 11 pantries to 6. And so we're grateful for a partnership that makes this possible for us to continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Next, we have Village Engineer Chris Dawkins.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm pleased to report that over the past couple of weeks, the construction activity on all the village's projects is wrapped up. So we are done through the winter, and mission accomplished this year. Everything turned out pretty well. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Chris. Next, we have Stuart Liaison, Tamron Heacock.
Thank you, Your Honor. Harlem senior Bretton Shaw, who holds the Nick 10 all-time rushing record, was honored at the Bears halftime this past Sunday. Harlem Varsity Cheer placed first at the Midwest Cheer Fest on Sunday. Student Council raised over $5,000 for the toy drive, and the girls basketball team raised $1,800. Student Council students went to Target on Saturday and bought all the items that will be given away this Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamron. Next, we have Public Safety Supervisor Sergeant Doug Bushman.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The bi-monthly police report covers November 18th through December 1st. In that time, there were 822 calls for service in the village, 205 reports taken, 332 arrests. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant Bushman. Next, we have committee and trustee reports. Do we have any reports this evening? Trustee Wilson.
Thank you, Your Honor. We had some correspondence to you, actually, from Keep Northern Illinois Beautiful, thanking the Village of Machesney Park for a generous charitable gift of $750. That's for the Christmas tree recycling program. Contribution means that Winnebago and Boone counties will now be more sustainable and healthy for all. The program will keep neighborhoods stronger, business areas more vibrant, and the community cleaner, greener, and safer. The board of directors and staff and more than 1,700 volunteers of Keep Northern Illinois Beautiful greatly value our partnership in these endeavors. And Lori Gamow, who will be retiring here very shortly, wants everyone to remember that every day is Earth Day. And with Steve here this evening, there was an interesting piece that aired on 60 Minutes last night. And I encourage everybody to look up the name Joe Max Higgins Jr. He is doing phenomenal things in the state of Mississippi in the Tri-County region. And it's just really something to see what's been happening down there. And I'm sure you've heard his name thrown around several times. But again, Joe Max Higgins Jr., Mississippi. Check out the Golden Triangle. Salvation Army's Nickel Tuesday is back again tomorrow. If anybody needs to top off their tank or fill up their gas tank, a nickel from every gallon of gas that you pump will go to the Salvation Army. So that's huge. Even if you did fill up over the weekend, if you can just put a couple gallons in, every little bit will go far. And I meet with my trustee group in District 4 with a lot of different residents, and we have focus groups where I get a chance to meet with the residents and kind of get an idea of what's going on with them when it pertains to the village, the upcoming election. And we have breakfast and lunch bunch groups is what we call them. And I actually brought up the idea of maybe next year reversing the Light Up the Parks parade and starting in Machesney Park and then heading down to Loves Park. And it was unanimous. They all loved the idea. So Steve, I don't know if you can fish that out with the chamber and see what we might be able to do to Christmas tree. We can have a date that the year, kind of like Edward's Apple Orchard, where there'd be cutouts there for families to take their kids, maybe a measuring stick to see how much the kids grow each year, and then validate the year. That way, with social media as big as it is, they could hashtag Machesney Park Christmas and make some memories, and we can get more use out of the town center with the Christmas tree that we've got there. That's all I have this evening, Your Honor.
Thank you, Trustee Wilson. Is there any more reports? Trustee Johnson.
Thank you, Your Honor. I also attended the Public Safety Forum last Tuesday, and I thought that was very, very informative. And I want to thank the officers and officials that actually did come and participated. There was quite a few people that had good comments. I also want to thank Zach for one of the zoning issues that we had in our district. He took care of that for us. And there again, I want to thank personally Sergeant Doug Bushman and his officers for helping us in the public safety issue we had outside our store. Thank you. You guys did a good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Johnson. Trustee Bailey.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Planning and Economic Development Committee met tonight, and we will have 3 ordinances that will go to the January 2nd board meeting with positive recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Bailey. Is there any more reports this evening? I see none. Next, we have the consent agenda. Will the staff please present all items under the consent agenda for the record, please?
This evening's consent agenda consists of 2 items. First item is ordinance 32-16. This is for the approval to vacate unimproved right-of-way on Dorothea Avenue, second reading. And item B is resolution 61R16, a resolution to approve amendments to the personnel policy manual for revision 2, which it also includes travel expenses. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Tim. Are there any items a board member would like removed from the consent agenda and considered separately? Seeing none, the consent agenda is accepted as presented. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So made.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Will clerk take roll call, please?
Trustee Kidd?
Aye.
Wilson?
Aye.
Bailey?
Aye.
Beck?
Aye.
Snodgrass?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Boland?
Aye.
7 ayes and no nays.
The consent agenda has been approved. Next, we have new business, ordinance 49-16, approved purchase of 9 parcels of vacant land, first reading. I entertain a motion to approve.
So made.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Could I have staff report, please?
Yes, thank you. The village has the opportunity to purchase 9 vacant lots located within the floodplain through a county tax sale. These 9 lots are located on or near Shore Drive and are adjacent to other properties the village already owns. The anticipated acquisition price for these properties would be around $620 each for a total of $5,580. We're asking that this ordinance, if approved, be brought back for a second read and final reading tonight. The village is required to post the approved ordinance twice for 30 days each before we're authorized to purchase the properties. By doing a second and final reading tonight, the village will be able to keep on schedule to meet the purchase deadline. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. Is there any discussions? I see none. Will clerk take roll call, please?
Trustee Wilson?
Aye.
Bailey?
Aye.
Beck?
Aye.
Snodgrass?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Kidd?
Aye.
Mayor Boland?
Aye.
7 ayes and no nays.
Ordinance 49-16 has been approved for first reading. Trustee Wilson.
Your Honor, since this ordinance is time-sensitive due to the publishing deadlines, as Chad indicated, I'd like to make a motion to waive the rules this evening and bring ordinance 49-16 back for a second reading.
I have a motion to suspend the rules for ordinance 49-16 to bring it back for second reading.
Second.
I have a second. Will the clerk take roll call, please?
Trustee Bailey?
Aye.
Beck?
Aye.
Snodgrass?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Kidd?
Aye.
Wilson?
Aye.
6 ayes and no nays to waive the rules.
Motion has been approved. I present ordinance 49-16, approved purchase of 9 parcels of vacant land, second reading. I entertain a motion to approve.
So made.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussions? Will clerk take roll call, please?
Trustee Beck?
Aye.
Snodgrass?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Kidd?
Aye.
Wilson?
Aye.
Bailey?
Aye.
Mayor Boland?
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays.
Ordinance 49-16 has been approved for second reading. Next is public comment. Is there anyone who wishes to make a public comment? I see none. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So made.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.